A very good afternoon to you and welcome to today's edition of Joy Business Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and it's brought to us by Goyle. Goyle, good energy, Goyle, Yenara, Yedia. Masterclass comes your way every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. and runs all the way through to 2:15 p.m. here on your superstation Joy 99.7. My name, as always, is Yaw Anim Barnafo, and I'm glad to be your host for today's edition of Masterclass. Last week ended our 5-week conversation on project management, a rather interesting conversation, and a number of things stayed with me in that conversation. I hope that you also picked up a few tidbits to help your business. My understanding there was that literally everything that we do that has a beginning and that has an end can be considered as a project. So what are the things that you're involved in right now? And somebody called me on the side and said, yeah, if everything that has a beginning and has an end is a project, then literally everything we do is a project. So they are either tangible projects or non-tangible projects that you're involved in. And a few things stayed with me. I'll just go through them very quickly. A very good afternoon to Godwin Affle, who was our resource person for that conversation. Godwin is a corporate trainer and a lecturer at the KNUST, and he shared some wonderful thoughts with us. Godwin, good afternoon to you if you're listening. But here are the takeaways that I had from that conversation on project management, and it was that these were the 5 basic principles to consider in any or every project that you undertake. It was to establish understanding of what it is that you're going to be embarking on, what the project is about, why am I doing it, and then of course you elaborate. Elaboration is to put down the structure of how you're going to approach the work that you're going to do, and of course you get into performing, which is actually getting into action on the things that you have structured. And then as you work on those things, you measure them and you gauge them. How do you measure? You measure by the standards which you would have set for yourself in the elaboration process. And then of course you complete the things you're supposed to do, because obviously you had a beginning and an end in mind. Now he did something interesting. He showed us the beginning, the difference between completing a project and closing a project. And the simple difference was that you complete the actions, but you close by going over what you've done and making sure that everything is done. 2 words he shared that stayed with me. He said that there's celebration to take place. Celebrate with your team. But to think is to cerebrate. And I was careful to say that because I didn't want people to think that I was mispronouncing the word. And he said cerebrate comes from the word cerebrium, which is a part of the brain. So to cerebrate is to think, and to celebrate is to rejoice or to celebrate. So those are the 2 words. Today we move into a different conversation, obviously. Here on Masterclass, we bring you conversations that you would have otherwise had to pay for. And we bring resource persons of renown here to have that conversation with you. We're moving into the conversation of unlocking your wealth. Unlocking your wealth. You notice I didn't say unlocking your riches or unlocking your money, but I said unlocking your wealth. Today we're going to be focusing on the aspect of that conversation that talks about mastering the power of the human factor. Mastering the power of the human factor. Just to also remind you that we're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. I'll be introducing my guest shortly. My guest for this afternoon is a renowned financial advisor and also a sales strategist. She's trained over 3 million people, has a heart for customer service and customer experience, and is a sales strategist. My guest for this afternoon and for the next 4 weeks is in the person of Casandra Apeti. Have I pronounced your name correctly? I didn't. I killed it. Please correct me. How do I pronounce your name?
It's just Casandra.
It's just Casandra. Okay. Cassandra, you're welcome to the show. I know we're having a bit of a hearty chat backstage, off air before we started, but that's because of the excitement of the conversation we're going to have. Everybody's looking to make it real quick these days. I see that on the back of things like COVID. I'm not going to say that I paused for a minute because we all lost loved ones. But what COVID also did was it catapulted a certain level of innovation. And I look at Ghana. I know it did across the world, but I look at Ghana. People began to do things that they otherwise would not have done. They began to dig deep and become creative.
Absolutely.
So now you have a lot more vloggers, a lot more bloggers, a lot more food joints, more packaging, more creative stuff, more renewable energy options and all of that. And so it becomes an exciting conversation when you talk about unlocking your wealth. What do you have in your hand? The power of positive thinking. Oscar, good afternoon to you if you're listening. Oscar is a great friend. He always talks about the power of the mind.
Yes.
You have a lot of people who are talking about. Daniel Sapong came here and talked about the same thing. Here is what Arthur Schopenhauer, I always struggle to pronounce his name. He's also an author and a business strategist. This is what he had to say about wealth. He says wealth is like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. And the same is true of fame. Yeah, I've not drank seawater before, but I'm sure that those who have drank seawater.
No.
So wealth is like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you become.
Yeah.
And the same is true of fame. Here's what John Henry Jowett also had to say. He's also a business strategist. He says, the real measure of our wealth is how much we would be worth if we lost all our money.
Wow.
The real measure of wealth is how much you would be worth if you lost all your money. So today I asked a question. You don't have to answer today. When we get interactive, you can type your answer. How much are you worth? How much are you worth? Answer that for yourself. When we get interactive, we open the phone lines at some point. You become part of that conversation. But otherwise, Sandra is here to share wonderful thoughts with us. She's obliged us some slides as well. So for those of us who are able to, by all means, go to our live feed on YouTube and be a part of that conversation. For flow of thought, for chronology, make some notes. But otherwise, Sandra, how do we unlock our wealth? How do we master the power of the human factor? Interesting conversation.
I know.
You can look at this thing 6 ways from Sunday.
I know, right?
So now we have to put it into perspective.
Good afternoon to you again,
Yeah.
Yaw, and to your, amazing listeners and those watching us on Facebook.
Yeah.
One thing I love about human beings, or who we are as human beings, is every sitting we have, we end up learning. Here I am, I put together, some cocktail to come and share. However, your introduction has kind of thrown my brain is now racing elsewhere because of the question that you asked, that when it's all said and done, when you lose everything, how much would you be worth? Wow. Now that's a completely
It's a deep question.
It's a deep
I mean, when I put it on my script yesterday, I asked myself, let me leave it. Let me ask the question I asked, but I think it resonated with me very deeply. And sometimes, I've listened to my pastor preach before, and he says, sometimes people make the mistake and when they say, who are you?
Yeah.
For men particularly, I don't know about women.
Yeah.
You say, I am the chief director of so-and-so. I am the founding member of so-and-so. So our validation is from the things we have achieved. But who are we? Who are we? I mean, it's a deep question. I don't have the answer, but hopefully we can learn together. Life is too short to make all the mistakes ourselves.
Absolutely.
But let's learn together today and in the next 4 weeks.
Yes.
If you're listening to this show right now, call someone, tell them masterclass is up. But let's learn together. What is your worth? Who are you?
Yeah.
Let's answer that question together.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, talk to us, Casandra.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yaw. Again, and I believe that for every interaction, like I said, we have with ourselves as human beings, we end up learning a lot.
Indeed.
And for the few minutes that we had interaction backstage, and even right now in your introduction, it's actually opened up my mind to different things. And I'm happy that today's conversation is also centered on the power of human beings, the power that you and I have, the power that our connections have in unlocking our wealth.
Yeah.
Yes, the power that you and I have together, the connection in unlocking our wealth.
Yeah.
My name is Casandra. I refer to myself these days as an author, a speaker, and a skills trainer. I absolutely love what the path that, the divine power has put me on in terms of transforming lives and impacting lives. And I say that they impact my life even more than I impact their lives on a daily basis. And so if you are watching us or listening to us and you can write, let's unpack a few things and see if this afternoon we'll be able to grasp something. I believe that there are some of us who are listening right now who perhaps are having a great day, and I'm excited for you that you're having a great day. And then there are others who are perhaps maybe not having so much of a great day. I am hoping that in the next few minutes, or at the end of the next few minutes that we are going to be having this, interaction, perhaps we will not be able to change the hours that are past. But I am certain and convinced that at the end of the session, the hours that are before you, or going forward and going through the rest of the day, will be better. I am certain and convinced that this will be unlocking certain things in your mind and the way you do things, and it will absolutely change the next few years or the next few hours. And of course, the ripple effect will be changing, a lot of things as you go on. Whenever we talk about human beings, of course, it takes us back to why God created us, what was our purpose and everything. But this session is not for that. This session, I want us to concentrate on the wealth part of it, just like Yaw was saying. When we talk about wealth, initially I wanted to dive right in. I was like, we won't be able to get the full picture of the conversation if we do not go into what wealth meant. So I searched, a little bit about what does wealth really mean according to the dictionary, ChatGPT. Let's go there and check it out. The abundance of valuable resources and material possessions. Abundance, I love the word abundance. Ebroso, you have it more, and if you chose not to work, you still have it. Now, that's what we're talking about. However, we need to understand that for you to get to abundance, you need to actually be able to even get some of the money. So how do you even make money in the first place? How do you acquire to the point where you have enough? And how do you acquire it to the point where we now have abundance, where, it's overflowing? Abundance of valuable resources and material possessions. However, in the breaking down of this definition, it still gave me things like physical possessions and I'll tell you in a bit. Physical possessions, physical assets, financial assets, physical assets, and human intellectual capital, which means your skills, your education, your level of knowledge. I was like, oof, okay, now we're talking. It means that when we talk about wealth, it's a holistic thing. When we talk about wealth, it is the abundance of the valuable resources or the valuable things that God has created us with. And so when we have abundance of health, abundance of physical assets, abundance of financial assets, abundance of knowledge, abundance of the impact and transformation, as in also giving back. That in all is what we are referring to today as wealth. Now, how do we unlock the power of the human connection? What power do we have as human beings to create this wealth? And that is what we want to delve into today. Let me start this way. Human beings, we are hardwired to connect. We are made out of connections. And think about this way. Imagine you wake up tomorrow, you look out your window, and everyone is gone. Obiako, everyone is gone. Tell me, how will that impact your life? And how long will you live before you also go away?
It's actually a very profound question you ask, and I'm trying to imagine it. Sometimes you speak to people, and they'll say, "Nipa ye cobra," and when I get a bit of money, I'm going to go live on an island and surround myself with animals. But even if you go back to scripture, the original plan, Adam was with animals. And what did God say? It is not good for man to be alone. But you find that sometimes when we're living with people, it's interesting, the dichotomy. But I think you strike a chord when you talk about the fact that we need other people.
Yes.
I ask people, when you dress nicely, who do you dress for? I'm dressing for myself. Okay, to an extent it's true. But are you sure you don't want somebody to see it and say that?
Right, I know.
You are looking nice.
You're looking
when
nice.
you buy that nice car as a dude,
Yes.
and you are racing down the N1,
Yes.
why do you do it? Is it only for the kick? Or you want somebody to drive past and say, hey, that car is nice.
Yeah.
So I'm just driving home the point you're making, that we need each other.
Absolutely.
More than we think we do.
Absolutely.
I'll leave it to you. Yes, I make Casandra.
Okay, so thank you, Yaw. Thank you. I forced Yaw to do this, and I'm happy. He's just jumping right.
I promise
into
not to talk today.
Back to how we are wired. We are wired to need the next person. What Yaw said is very profound. Now, whatever it is that we need on earth is actually locked in the next person. And that is why our desire is in the next person. The desire of a man is in the woman. The desire of the woman is in the man. And just like you said, you could be looking amazing, but all you're looking for is someone to say, Nanayo, you look amazing. Yeah. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Now, it means that everything that we want on earth is locked in someone else. And in order for us to become wealthy, or in order for us to, to begin to tap into that wealth that God has created for us, we need to begin to tap into that power in the next person. Let me give you an example. So if we look at the businesses that are doing well now, they are those who are able to connect to more people. The more people you're able to connect to, the more wealth you have. Those who have understood the psychology of human beings and have followed where next the human being wants to go are those who are actually creating the wealth that we are seeing today. And so the more people you're able to connect to, the more wealth you have. Yeah. Let me tell you something very, very interesting about us human beings. Let me take us back to where we're coming from. So as humans, we started in communities. We started in tribes, and that's how we survived. And when you moved away from the community, it was easier for you to be caught by an animal or for you to be, struck by the enemy. And so the way we are wired is supposed to be together in order to protect ourselves, in order to create wealth, by helping each other. That is how we are wired. Now, all of a sudden, in our infinite wisdom, we decide, we don't like the community thing anymore. We want to be alone, just like Yaw said. I want to go and live on some island. Nipanye, human beings are so evil. I don't want to live with anybody. I want to be by myself. And then you start to be by yourself. Yeah. Okay, you are by yourself. We say we are in virtual world. We want to be by ourselves until COVID happened. So I was telling a friend of mine that I lived in Joburg for many years, and my neighbor never said good morning, never greeted until COVID happened. And we were stuck in the room. We were in strict lockdown for many months, only for us to come out and it's like, hello. I'm like, are you greeting me today? But yeah, COVID taught us that we are not wired to be by ourselves. We, in fact, isolation killed more people than the disease itself. Just the mere fact that no one is going to come see me. No one wants to touch me. No one wants to come and say, how am I doing? That alone will kill you faster. And so we need to understand that no matter how the world, progress, however we go, we will come back to how we are wired. And how we are wired is to be together. The human connection. The power. That is where everything is. So every point in time in our lives as human beings, let me explain something to you. So, there are buzzwords. There are times when so the buzzword these days is, let's say, entrepreneurship, networking. There are things you can't do without.
Customer service.
And you ask, and at every point in our lives
Strategy.
as human beings, there are buzzwords that will just be, in your face. And it's almost like if you don't join the train, you'll be left behind. But what we need to understand is the way we are created as human beings, or the way we are wired, whenever we try to make one aspect of our lives dominant and the aspect very, very, and suppress the other and be dominant in one aspect, we begin to need that value or that attribute such that that becomes now the buzzword that everybody now begins to talk about. So we've all moved onto the virtual world and now we're needing the human connection. I thought we wanted to be alone and to be, clicking and getting likes. Now we realize that what we are missing now is that people need to actually go out and meet people.
But even on the virtual front, Casandra, you just talked about it. When you post something, why do you post it? And I think that we're taking our time to lay the foundation of why it is important. The human factor is important in the wealth creation
Absolutely.
process. And that's what we're doing right
Yeah.
now. But when you post any document, whether it's a business document, whether it's a product you're marketing, affiliate marketing is also a buzzword on social media these days. Whatever it is, you want someone to see it. Why? Whether they're buying it, whether they're learning from it, whether they're going to refer it to somebody. So these days, there are 4 buzzwords on social media. We say, what? Subscribe, what?
Like,
subscribe, share, and what? There's a final one, I can't remember. But that's all engagement.
Yes.
Engagement with who? With people.
Absolutely.
Algorithms for social media platforms are done based on engagement.
Absolutely.
Engagement with who? People. That is where we begin to have the conversation on creating wealth. I know you'll get there, but I'm just putting it into perspective for our listeners.
Yes.
Somebody just joined and they're saying, okay, but you're not getting that, because we're laying the foundation. The people factor. The people is the foundation, if I can say that. Are the foundation, but I'm emphasizing it. The people is one.
Yes.
The people are the foundation.
Are the foundation, yeah.
And that's where everything sits in situ.
Everyone.
Then from there, when it begins to churn and turn around and interact, knock against each other, then value begins to create out of that process.
Absolutely.
In whichever direction you're putting it.
Absolutely.
If you're a pastor, who are you going to talk to? If you're an entrepreneur, who are you going to sell to? Even if you are a prison warden, who are you going to superintend over?
Yes.
No,
I absolutely love it.
but I'm just driving home the point you're
Yes.
making, that the foundation we're trying to lay is that before you have a wealth conversation, understand the place of the human factor.
Yes.
People.
Yes. Human psychology is the basis of wealth. And just like I said, in the next few minutes, as you know, as we unpack all of this, someone is going to grasp it. Because like I'm talking about, someone is listening to us now, is on the way to meet someone, and is thinking, this person, but you know what? That huge contract you're looking for is with this person. The faster and the quicker you understand that it is with that person. So as soon as you change your mindset to understand, okay, fine, I know he or she is difficult. If only I could try to understand their side, the part where they're coming from, maybe I could soften them and get what I'm looking for.
In other words, before you talk about wealth, understand this. You need people.
It's with the next person.
You need people.
You need people. Without it, you don't just get things from the air.
No.
So let me now go into the 2 legitimate and the legitimate underlined, the 2 legitimate ways that we gain wealth. The first one is it's passed on. So when it's passed on, inheritance or gifts. And the second way is we earn it by providing a service or a product. So once you provide value in the way of service or product, in exchange, you begin to make that wealth that we are talking about. And by the way, like I said, I started from explaining that before you get to abundance, you need to start earning one by one. Then you get to the part where it is sufficient. Then you get to the part where it is abundant. So when we talk about wealth, we need to now go down to how is wealth created or how is wealth gotten. 2 legitimate ways is either someone is giving it to you or you're earning it. Either way, the common denominator, the main important thing here is that a human being has to be involved. There is no inheritance that was passed from an animal to it doesn't happen. Still, there's a human connection that needs to be involved. And so our one most important thing that we need to understand as business people and as people that want to genuinely make wealth is to understand that human beings are the foundation of all of this. And once we can drive home once we can become comfortable around ourselves, once we begin to understand where someone else is coming from, it is easier for us to begin to live with ourselves. Let me tell you a story. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he says, we were talking about someone, a lady who is in a certain position, and he says to me, oh no, I know how she got there. No, don't look up to women like that. You know, I know how she got there. You know, she did nothing to get there. I said, How
She did nothing
come
and she
she
got
did
there.
Nothing to get there.
Then let's all go do nothing.
Yeah. You know, and it is easier for you to think, wanya she no do you know how we like to
Yeah,
judge
yeah.
people.
You slander,
Yeah,
you judge.
airheads, it should have been me, could have been me. The person had better human skills than you did, perhaps. The relationship that that person built is what got her there. But we will look at it as abia ne paper, the the CV, or on paper the person was not qualified to be there. Let me just help all of us to understand. There is none of us that have gotten to where we are without somebody. Do you know how many people could have been in your position right now that are not there because they don't have anyone? That should tell you that there are people that are more qualified than you.
A recommendation is always made or has to be made.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I remember myself while I was in SA, things were quite hard early days when I got there, and I was selling a digital phone. I was teleselling that time, selling a digital book to one man called Mr. Ireland, and those times, it was very early. I think 2009 thereabout, and he asked me to call him, call me tomorrow. You know that thing, I would throw her until she gets tired. She won't call me again. Call me tomorrow, 2 p.m. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Mr. Ireland, this is Casandra. You asked me to give you a call. I'm calling from about the digital book. Then I continue again. The digital book is going to do A, B, C, D. Do you love books? Da, 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 da. He says, oh, no, you listen. I'm in a meeting now. Call me at 5 p.m. 5 p.m.
It's called the runaround.
I'm there again. I'm calling. So after, let's say, maybe 10 calls, this man says to me, come work for me. None of my salespeople, and this was Toyota then in SA, he says, none of my sales, he was one of the directors in Toyota, none of my salespeople will follow up. The number of times and the time that I give you is exactly the time you call me without missing. Come work for me. I promise you that was the beginning of a whole chapter in my life.
I just learned a lesson right now. The second lesson on unlocking your wealth. Be diligent with what you have or what you are doing now.
Like that.
Be diligent with it. You don't know who's watching. You don't know who's listening. What you just said, you thought that the guy was giving you the runaround. That was your interview. You had no clue. You don't know who's watching what you're doing. You don't know who's listening. And sometimes we think that hard work is all of it. Hard work is noble, is great, but be diligent with what you're doing. Be consistent. Be reliable. If I go to work at this time and I need somebody, will Casandra be there? Casandra always comes at 8:30. She's the first to get to the office. That's a statement that has value. Which value you may not see today, but you may see later on. Because when the question is asked, we need someone to fill this role. Who is the most reliable person in your team? And then that comes to bear. Casandra, why? Because she's always there on time. And I'll give you an example. I worked somewhere else in the world, and my family wasn't there. I was alone. So I buried myself in my work. And one day my boss said to me, he says, Yaw, the only reason I know you go home every day is because every day I come, you're wearing a different shirt.
Oh, because
you see, I sat in the same place.
Yes.
Work started at 7:30.
Yes.
She would come in at 6:30.
Yes, you're
because
there.
she's the boss.
Yes.
I'm there. She left around 7:30 in the
You're
evening.
there.
I'm the last to leave. I'm the first to come. I'm not saying be the last to leave or be the first to come. What I'm saying is that whatever you're doing, be diligent, be reliable, be consistent. That's the beginning of unlocking your wealth.
I love
That's my
that.
second lesson I've learned from what you're saying.
I love that. As I feel like in the next few weeks, there's a lot of learning that is going to take place. There's a lot of learning.
Indeed.
And just like we're saying, we will get to the part where we're talking about the service aspect of it, the power of serving people. Just like you're saying, there's the diligent part of it. There is the consistent part of it. There is the part of it where you're doing it genuinely from your heart. You understand me? As the weeks progresses. But let me just go into some of the core.
Before you do that, though, I want our listeners to be a part of this conversation. And I'm happy you're going to be with us for the next 4 weeks. So let me do this. We'll take a quick message from our sponsors. When we come back, we get interactive.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
This is Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. We're here in the studio with Casandra Apete, and we're talking about unlocking your wealth, mastering the power of the human factor. We're going to be doing this for the next 4 weeks, and it's an interesting conversation. Do stick around. We're interactive right now. We want you to be a part of this conversation. We're talking about wealth, not just money, not just riches, not just gold, not just silver, but wealth. Let's have an open conversation. Let me hear you and understand what you understand by wealth. Let's share thoughts. Let's all become better for it. Numbers to call: 0302 216 541. That's 0302 216 541. You want to send us a message or a question as well? You can do that on 055 111 That's 055 111 Pick up that phone, give us a call: 0302 216 541. We're interactive right now. Let's hear what you have to say. What's your understanding of wealth? Are you wealthy? Can you teach us how to be wealthy? Life is too short to make all the mistakes yourself, so let's learn from each other. Pick up that phone. Let's have a chat right now. 0302 216 541. Cassandra, while we're waiting for those phone lines to ring, you still had some wonderful thoughts to share.
Yes, I wanted to go into some of the core principles of unlocking.
Let's do that. Let's do that straight away.
The first one is to understand the human psychology, how human beings work, how those who follow that path and follow where human beings are going are those that are easily able to unlock that wealth. The second one is learn people's skills. And I say learn because just like we were saying that people say nipa, it's because enye bibi aweshia. However, if you decide to learn it, and I'll use myself as an example, for the longest time I used to sing that song that I didn't like people, I don't really like people, I don't like people, until I realized that, what are you talking about? Like, really? If you don't like people, would you like animals?
Parrots.
Parrots? Would they give money to you? So yeah, when you begin to change that narrative and you begin to understand, okay, fine, this person isn't like me. Yaw doesn't talk like me, doesn't eat like me, doesn't behave like me. But how do I get to know Yaw and have a common ground with Yaw? That is how you begin to connect with your customers. Let's start there. Yeah,
and just to chip in also on that point about understanding people, as entrepreneurs, as business people, because we're talking about wealth, we're talking about an aspect of it is business. If you understand people, then you make room for people.
Yes.
Even if you want to use the word tolerate people. We always say that and I watched this documentary, and please don't come and bite me. But this documentary said that Ghanaians are hospitable, but Ghanaians do not understand customer service. That's changing, of course. I say that guidedly.
Yes.
We're learning. But you see, there's also an aspect of the Ghanaian businessman.
Yeah.
And it's that we think we're doing the customer a favor. I've experienced businessmen today. And when I say businessmen, I'm not talking about big shops, everyday shops. They can tell you that, Mapong, I won't sell to you.
Yes.
Go.
Yes.
You're not doing the customer a favor because it's a small. And do you know the most powerful thing today in our world is the phone? The moment you start misbehaving, number 3 phone. Now tell that to the whole world. I'm recording you.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's like, why are you recording me?
Yes.
Because, you see, that's where the world is now.
Yeah.
It's important to the next person what you're doing.
Yeah.
So in the creation of your value, make room for people.
I know.
Tolerate people. You are dealing with them. It's business.
Wow.
For that 5 or 10 minutes you deal with them,
yes.
be nice. Swallow your pride.
Yeah? I'm happy that you mentioned that. My new book on the art of customer service, The Orchestra, will be launched tomorrow. And one of the things that it definitely highlights.
Where's the launch tomorrow?
So it's a virtual launch.
Right,
so look out for it tomorrow on our social media platforms. Okay. Anyway, towards the end, I'll most definitely talk a bit about that.
Yes.
But one of the things which you also mentioned right now is that I began to research into why hospitable, so warm, loving people, Ghanaians, cannot translate the same thing into customer service. And this book has a lot of revelation when it comes to that. Because we've had a lot of people come to Ghana, they enjoy the people, and we've seen the videos. I love Ghana. Whoa, the people. Then the next thing, customer service. Oh, no.
Yeah.
In a way, they are giving wrong impression about Ghana. Who wants to come to a place?
It's also feedback, isn't it?
It's feedback. And you can feel from the genuineness when they talk about how they loved Ghana.
Yeah.
So that one, you can see they are not lying. They love Ghana. I loved it. It's so the people are nice. What is happening? It's because there's some underlining, it has to do with our culture. There is something there. And the more research, the more, participatory communication I did, the more things were revealed, which is in the book.
But I believe that will change for Ghana, because once we're talking about it enough, it will begin to get traction. It will get attention. People say, let's look at that place.
Yes.
There's a comment on social media. I didn't get your name. It says, your network is your net worth. I've heard that one before. It says, connect with a lot of people. Okay, I can't see clearly what you... So connect with a lot of people, and that would create the wealth that you're looking for.
Yeah.
You cannot do this alone. Thank you very much for those comments. I think that you couldn't have said it better. I think this one came from James. James, it came from James. James, thank you so much for your comment. Phone lines are still open. Numbers to call 0302216541. You can also send us your comments on 05511119997. So, I think you just mentioned the second core input, right? Let's go to the others as well.
All right. The others is the learning of the people's skills. Then I said, know how to exchange value for money. What are you putting out there? At every point in time, someone wants something that you have. But the thing is, you need to have something. And so the question is, what do you have? What do you have? At all times, I need to position myself in a place where Yaw can benefit from me. It means that I need to be creating something of value that Yaw wants in order for me to be exchanging this wealth or this connection. And so it's very, very important for us to take note of that. And also to position...
the value for money, Pacho,
yes.
Excuse me small. Apart from identifying what you have and packaging it and making it ready for exchange for money or for value, the thing you are giving, let it be of value. You share there. We because you think you are doing the customer a favor, the thing we give, we don't put emphasis on it. So we do it biara. Do you get it? Why would there be on the way to Cape Coast at the what's the junction? There's a junction on the way to Cape Coast. Oh, bring your name. For those who know the junction I'm talking about, please send me a message. There's a long line of Fanti Kinke sellers.
Yes.
Yamransa Junction.
Yes, I've seen that.
There's about 25 Fanti Kinke sellers.
Yes.
There's a particular Kinke seller. I won't give you free advert. Antiba, you know yourself. Whenever the drivers get there, they stop there.
Yeah.
What is the difference? You're selling tomato. There's 4 other tomato sellers. Why do people stop where you are? Maybe because you're nice. But let the product you sell be of value. And my main Tom Frama, don't let me get home and find out that the thing I bought is not valuable.
You're coming as my resource person one of these days.
If you were selling the thing you bought, would you be happy with it?
I know.
Because what would Jesus do? Ask yourself that question. So value for money. Make sure that what you're offering is value for money.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
all. And people will come back for return business.
Absolutely.
Mami we
yeah.
Because
do you know that there's that particular one as well? When you just say you're going to Cape Coast, someone will say, "Udu yamranza towo ukoto fanti keke towo weho," because there are few names. I've also heard that before. That when you get there, buy from this one.
If any God first.
Really?
Yeah.
But I mean, you see where we are going. The reason why we set the tone and the foundation from the fact that we are wired that way. Nyawo is in Yaw. What I'm looking for is in Yaw. I just need to, tolerate, like you're saying, connect and tolerate Yaw beyond the facade. Because for every human being, there's what we are trying to portray, to show the world, and there's who we really are. So beyond what you're seeing, if you are just a little patient to unearth and go in, you realize that beyond the horror face that Yah is giving you, what you're looking for is right there.
And it's yours.
And it's yours.
Except that I'm watching to see how you will behave.
Absolutely.
So life is really an interview, isn't it?
Yes,
It's an interview. Somebody's
It
watching
is.
you to see
It is.
how you conduct yourself
It
before.
is.
Otherwise, we'll give everything to everybody.
It is. Then I talk about position yourself to build meaningful relationships on a constant basis. Position yourself. And just like I said, at every point in time, we need to understand that no matter how we go, we will come back to who we really are. And if we try to move away from our sense of community, sense of, reaching out to the community that we are in, we'll come back to look for another community. So I say, start with the people around you. What do the people around you say about you?
Exactly. Position yourself.
Position yourself.
Again, life doesn't just happen. Don't happen to life. What do you know how to do? Your father is a carpenter. So at some point, can we point to anybody in the community and say, you are the best carpenter? And I say, your father's a carpenter, but you didn't know anything about carpentry. Whatever it is, even if it's not about carpentry, whatever, pick one thing. Be good at something. Be known for something.
Yes.
That's positioning yourself.
Yes.
Be at the right place at the right time. Attend the right events. Accountant. So start learning. Talk to accountants. The more you want to become something and the more time you spend with it, the more you become it.
Mr. Yaw, you work with people who could open big doors for you. Yet you think that not talking to them and not connecting with them, but going for some event somewhere. You understand me? I'm saying start with where you are.
True.
Start tolerating the people around you. If we can do that, be gracious with people. Why does this person always? Why don't you find out why they are always eating? Then again, yesterday I was having another conversation with a friend who was saying that there is one gentleman in his life who, Obiabe, everyone has done the masters, and he's still at the place where he is. So I gave him an analogy of a video I saw on Instagram where there were about 50 kids who were about to run a race, and there was $1,000 for them to win, for the winner. And so they said, but before you start the race, we want to give you, a story or analogy for you to understand that we all not starting at the same point. So they were on the first line and they asked them, if you're on the first line and both of your parents you live with both of your parents, move 2 steps forward. Then they moved forward. If you are in the line or you are here and you have influence of both your mother and father in your life, move 2 steps, then they move 2 steps. If you are here and you don't have to think a day of what to eat, move 2 steps forward, they move 2 steps forward. If you are here and you go to school and you don't have to think about who pays your fees, move 2 steps forward. The next thing, some of the kids are like 100 meter from some haven't moved, and they are going to all run for the money. Sometimes what we think came to us easily. Oh, me, I'm very disciplined. Oh, me, I come to work early. Oh, me, I wouldn't have done it this way. Oh, me, I would have done it that way. Could it be that you had that advantage? There was someone in your life who was always telling you, you can do it, keep going. So let's be gracious with each other to be able to unlock that connectivity and that power that we, once we are gracious with people and understand that we are all not the same. And what we are even, someone perhaps deposited that thing in us. And let's, have that mentality of trying to connect with people more on the basis of, let me get to understand why he does this thing.
There may be something in the fire. I've got Francis from Accra.
Okay.
Francis said, hi, Joy FM. In fact, what you people are discussing is on point. I teach in a school. To cut the story short, through my care for a child and professionalism, I got connected to a wealthy businessman whose child is in the school I teach. Today, I find myself doing well because of that care I gave the child, as I teach the man's children at home, which I get paid more than my current salary. This is Francis from Accra. So that's the point you're making.
Fantastic.
Where are you? What's around you? What do you have in your hand?
Yes.
How are you?
Connect with the people.
Yeah.
Connect with the people, and that whole thing of, I think that I'm trying to think how we got there. And I say Ghanaians because, of course, this is my country of, So I want to know how we got there where we coming from place where I remember our aunties, our grandma, when you go to the village, the way I mean, it was there. So I'm trying to figure at what point did we adopt certain cultures and now became people like we don't want people, we quick to judge people, until they name this person is like this person like. Meanwhile, everything you're looking for isn't the person you're complaining about.
Life happened. But my joy is that because we're talking about it enough, we're going to pay attention to it.
Absolutely.
And I'd love for us to continue this, but I know we're gonna be here again next week.
Yes.
Briefly tell us what we're going to be doing next week, and then when you're done with that, tell us our takeout from our conversation today.
All right.
Yeah,
So
if you will.
in the next couple of next week we're going to be talking about what do people receive when they encounter you. And then the subsequent week, we will be talking about why should someone choose you to transact with?
Right.
And are you packaging your skills in the presence of, in a way to attract value?
Okay.
And so, yes, basically, we're going to be moving more into the customer, into service,
Right.
into that power that brings in the wealth that we want
Right.
to create. And I'm happy that you said that, for everything that we think we can work on, it's good that we're having this conversation because the more we talk about it, the more it's going to open certain doors.
How will they hear unless we talk about it?
Absolutely. And
But what's our takeout? What's our
yes.
takeout from today's conversation?
So today's conversation is the fact that we need to understand that we are hardwired to need the next person.
Right.
And from this minute going, just think of the next person as whatever it is that I'm looking for, whatever it is that I'm chasing so much, whatever it is that I desire has been locked in the next person close to me or the next person. Just treat people like that, and it will just completely change your perspective on the way that you look at the next
So
person.
in Tree, we say nyabotre because me bibi wo ho.
Now, who says bibi will be what? The way
It's like when your money's in somebody's hands.
I tell you.
Even if you don't like the way they look,
You're like,
you say, how are you? My pastor gave an example. Pastor, good afternoon to you if you're listening. Or say wudin. Intimi mo wudin. Na say wudin ye 15 syllable word. Say unsroma pui. That's when you shrawa. Abrofo no be sua wudin bo.
Mina meka cha no mo boni nyina.
Abrofo no sua wudin bo. A very good afternoon to Dr. Julian Apia, my lecturer at University of Ghana, Lesiad. Thank you for doing the listening. We're grateful. But tell us, people want opportunities. They want to get themselves trained. This is what you do.
Yes, absolutely.
Where do they find you on social media? Is there a number to put out? Yes. And then tell us about your book, and then let's wrap up for today. That's
all right. So customer service training, skills development is what we do, but it's also embedded in an initiative called the Money Hub Initiative, where we provide financial literacy.
Right.
And so it's enterprise development and skills development. So you're looking for someone to train your staff on customer service and everything else that they need to be able to serve the customer well, from communication to managing of conflict to to negotiations, name it, anything that will put them in a better position to be able to serve your customer well.
Super.
We provide that training.
Super.
The number to call us on 020-704-2140 or on LinkedIn it's Sandra Apete and MoneyHub_official on Instagram, and on Facebook it's Casandra. Yes, I know it's a bit
okay,
but just call me Cassandra.
But just put out the number for me again very slowly
it's
this time.
020-704-2140. Tomorrow
yes.
we launch the orchestra. It goes live tomorrow, so pre-order. It's the art of customer service, and this book is most definitely a masterpiece that will change the face of customer service in Ghana. So get your copy for not only you and your team, and also my team and I are doing a free 15-minute session for different organizations. So if you would want that for us to do a free 15-minute session on customer service and also to highlight the book. We're doing that for many organizations, so you can also give us a call on the same number.
Thankfully, we're back here again next week. This has been Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. We've been here in the studio with Casandra Apete, financial advisor, sales strategist, and we've just started laying the foundation for unlocking your wealth. God willing, next week we come your way with yet another exciting edition. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you same time next week.